Hello, everyone. You're welcome to the JMA Connections. This first day of the month of December 2025. We are on Monday. I'm delighted to be here and to bring to us updates on what is happening both in the southern Cameroons and in the Republic of Cameroon. Today is really a sad day for the people of neighboring La République du Cameroon. Very sad because the death has just been announced of one of the great nationalists of that country who has demonstrated beyond reasonable doubts over time that he was committed to the cause for freedom in the Republic of Cameroon. So Anicet Ekane is dead. Like I said earlier, this is a developing story where political tensions continue to rise following the disputed October 12, 2025 presidential election in Cameroon. Prominent opposition figure Georges Anicet Ekane, president of the African Movement for New Independence and Democracy, known as Manidem, has died while in detention in Yaoundé. Ekane had been held for 38 days after publicly declaring Issa Chiroma Bakari as the legitimate winner of the October 12, 2025 presidential election. Ekane, who suffered from chronic respiratory illness, was arrested under dramatic circumstances in Douala on October 24th, 2025. They even planted weapons, rifles, and military paraphernalia and some huge sums of money at his home to claim that those are the things they met with him as he was preparing to lead an insurrection against the government of Paul Biya. Despite his well-known medical condition, authorities confiscated his oxygen concentrator for more than a month. According to his attorney, the device was only returned to him on the 27th of November. And this is long after his health had severely deteriorated. His lawyer, Maître Hippolyte Mélie, stated that 5 unidentified gendarmes brought Ekane's oxygen equipment directly to his hospital bed in Yaoundé's military hospital after its prolonged confiscation. Mélie added that the devices were returned without proper independent medical verification, and he announced that a formal complaint will be filed against the Littoral Gendarmerie Legion and those involved in what he described as a criminal act. With Ekane's death, Cameroon loses one of its last outspoken nationalists, a man who in recent months had become a central figure in the push for political change in a country governed by the same regime for over 40 years, in effect 43 years. You will recall that Anicet Ekane and his Manidem political party initially tried to invest Maurice Kamto of the MRC party as presidential candidate because all measures were taken by Atanga Ponji, Minister of the Interior, and the system to exclude Maurice Kamto. When Anicet Ekane's Le Manidem party invested Maurice Kamto, the system overnight decided that they were no longer recognizing Anicet Ekane as president of the Manidem political party. Atanga Ponji then even went as far as claiming that someone, somewhere unknown, had gotten into the website, had hacked the website of the Ministry of Territorial Administration and changed the names, changed documents, and put in place documents that indicated that it was rather Anicet Ekane who was president of the Manidem political party and not Yebga, whom they were now propping up so they could use him to disqualify Maurice Kamto on grounds that two different presidential candidates were filed in for the same political party, Le Manidem. At the end of the day, Atanga Ponji, who personally orchestrated the hacking of the website of his own ministry, claimed that they were after those who hacked it. Until this day, no reports have been published of the result of the investigation that he claimed were being conducted. At the end of the day, by the use of Mr. Yebga, they finally threw out the candidature of Maurice Kamto. And Ekane did not get tired. He did not resign to fate. He did not resign to the situation. And Ekane continued unabated and went ahead in collaboration with Jekam Chameni and formed something called the Douala Group that brought together another set of political parties, opposition political parties. They created what they called a people's platform for change. And this people's platform for change that was created was seeking among the existing presidential candidates that were duly approved finally by the Elekam board of or by the Elekam Electoral Board and the Constitutional Council, seeking any one of them to come in, look at the conditions that they had laid forth as a kind of agreement with the people on the need to, rather than taking a 7-year mandate, put in place a 3 to 5 year transitional government that will concentrate its first month on producing institutional reforms, putting in place democratic institutions that would guarantee smooth political transitions in the future. At the end of the day, Issa Chiroma Bakari was a lone presidential candidate that bought into the platform and bought into the program being vehicled by the platform. And therefore, the Douala Group, championed by Anicet Ekane and Jekam Chameni, endorsed therefore the candidature of Issa Chiroma Bakari and presented him to the public as a people's candidate, as one who had accepted to sign a pact with the Cameroonian people, a pact for change, a pact that will guarantee a transitional government that will concentrate its effort on putting in place institutional reform to help the country finally take off, both democratically and economically. Unfortunately, they were going to face another major challenge, facing a system that never accepts the results of an election, facing a system that believes that it is its birthright to stay in power forever, but that must continue to organize a farce of elections every now and then to try and fool the world that it is a democratic system. And so, therefore, a press release was issued this day, this first day of December, by the spokesperson or the head of the communications division at the Ministry of the Defense in Yaoundé, to announce the death of Anicet Ekane and talk somehow about the circumstances of his death in detention. That release, coming back from the military, indicates therefore that you are dealing here not with a civilian government but with a military regime. Because in normal circumstances, this kind of press release should come from the Ministry of Communication in a civilian regime, in a country run by civilians. But when you have a country that is run by both the military and civilians, some kind of similitude, this is what you get. And according to this press release, Atongfak Gemo Cyril Serge, who is the head of the Division for Communication, says le ministère de la Défense communique. Monsieur Ekane Anicet, 74 ans, est décédé ce jour, 1er décembre 2025 à l'aube, au centre médical militaire de la Gendarmerie nationale à Yaoundé, des suites de maladie. That Anicet Ekane died this morning. He died in the early hours of this morning, the 1st of December, Monday, December 1, at the age of 74, in a military hospital run by the National Gendarmerie, following an illness. At the time of his arrest, this gentleman was ill. They had known that he was a patient, but they confiscated his medical kit deliberately. They wanted to, cut him off medical supplies to facilitate his death. This is a crime against humanity, and this is how it should be called. The communiqué continues. Le concerné était placé en garde à vue judiciaire suite à son interpellation le 24 octobre 2025 à Douala. They say he was being held, temporarily for judicial reasons by the government of Cameroon after his arrest on the 24th of October in Douala. And then they say it was within the framework of some investigations that were opened against him for what they claim were very grave acts he committed, and that fell within the framework of the military tribunal's competence. They said le caju qui souffrait de diverses pathologies chroniques. So they recognized that he was suffering from several chronic illnesses, était depuis lors interné au centre médical militaire de la gendarmerie nationale. So they claimed that since he was arrested, he had been in the gendarmerie hospital. This is grave. You pick up someone who has been ill, who has been managing his ailments, who had his set of medical equipment and medical supplies, taking care of his health. You confiscate his entire kit, his medical supplies and everything. You deprive him even of oxygen, those things that were keeping him alive, and you wait until when you are certain that he had become vegetable, you restore them. Just 4 days. 4 days to his death. So it says, conformément à la procédure en vigueur, une enquête a été ouverte afin d'établir avec précision les circonstances du décès. Investigations? An inquiry into the exact circumstances of his death? When it was known that is somebody who was ill, and they deprived him of his medical equipment, and they deprived him of his medical supplies, and they made it impossible for him to see his personal doctors, those who had his medical history, who knew exactly what he was suffering from, who could monitor symptoms of aggravation and be able to, provide instant support. No. When they get all this off, they sit down, they tell you now that they are going to, carry out investigations into the real circumstances of his death. This is an aberration, a real aberration. While I was looking through this communique, while I was looking through the pages and the papers to understand exactly what is going on, I noticed that back in Douala, back in Garoua, back in Bafoussam, in Betua, in most cities of the Republic of Cameroon, there is silence. There is calm. This is a kind of thing that in a normal country with a normal set of people, it will be a trigger like never before seen. In a normal setup with a normal group of people, with people who still have their brains, who still have their minds, who still care about humanity, there will be massive street protests like never before seen. Hell no. Places are calm. All what you are seeing are television panels with talks being thrown here and there and all of those things. That's all you are seeing. People are on television panels making noise. Just noise. Empty noise. And he said Ekane was fighting for them. And he said Ekane at 74, his future was already behind him. I recall that a venerated Southern Cameroon's man of law, Bernard Acho Muna, at this age, in 2017, he stood in Bamenda when the people of the Southern Cameroons had just risen to fight for what we believe in, to fight for our future. And when there were school boycotts and other boycotts, and he made the following statement. He said, let them fight. Let them bloody fight. Let them miss 1 school year. Let them miss even 2 school years. The future is theirs. Mine is gone. My own future is behind me. I can die even tomorrow. So let them fight. Let them bloody fight. The future is theirs. But Anicet Ekane at 74 did not just say let them fight. Did not just say let them bloody fight, the future is theirs. He joined in the fight. He took the forefront. He went right ahead, courageously, faced challenges, but never gave up. Faced difficulties, but kept going. And he said, Ekane, even while he was in detention, he did not give up. Even while he was being mocked on social medias by lost souls whose future he was standing for, he never gave up. He never accepted that the system had prevailed, even right on to death. And he said Ekane kept fighting. But what are the people saying? What are the people doing? I recall once, while I was doing a segment on CRTV national station in Cameroon, the Cameroon Radio Television, and this was Morning Safari. And I recall we were talking about, the subject matter was patriotism. And we were defining what patriotism was all about. And someone said it was the love that you have for your country, that you can even fight and die for your country. But a caller made a very interesting statement. I'm sure that caller, I can recall the name vividly. It was one Pa Lemfon who called from Bamenda. And he said, while we are defining this, we should be very clear. There is no point dying for a country which is not worth dying for. He said, where we define patriotism as a love that one has for a country, that you can live, fight, and die for it, that country should be worth dying for. So when you look at what is happening in French Cameroon, in the Republic of Cameroon, La République du Cameroon, you understand why some people say that country is not worth dying for. Because no one cares about you when you die. While you are there fighting and all of those things, doing everything for the people, the same people are coming in comment sections on social media and everywhere in mockery, not in support, not in solidarity. I was reading again comments that were put on a post by one Zuimanto, a social media activist of La République du Cameroon. That was yesterday, when he was reporting about the extent of the success of the ghost towns called by Alicet. I could see people come there insulting, mocking. Are you the one who come and give us food in our houses? Are you the one who come and take care of us? Are you the one who come and provide for us? When we shut down, what happened? Oh, Issa Chiruma has even escaped. He's already him in the Gambia. Let him come here and fight. If he wanted to fight, let him come and show us the example. Let him come and this, let him come and that. Yet the people on a daily basis are dying on bad roads because of road accidents. On daily basis, they are dying in hospitals that are so poorly equipped. It's not Issa Chiruma Bakari. It's not Anicet Ekane. On daily basis, they are suffocating in neighborhoods where, because of poor drainage systems, the stench is such that it is killing people. Yet, they think that it is someone else that has to come and fight for them. They do not have electricity for prolonged months, and sometimes people die in hospital while they are undergoing procedures, medical procedures, surgeries, because lights suddenly go off and the hospitals don't have standby automatic relay generators. Yet they are making noise. Yet they are mocking at those people who decide to sacrifice themselves for their sake. That is the kind of country that is not worth dying for. And he said Ekane, wherever he is, can see for himself right now that that country, Republic of Cameroon, is not worth dying for. I think today, therefore, that the people of the Republic of Cameroon now understand why Southern Cameroonians could not stay in this kind of setup. As a people, us of the Southern Cameroons, our thoughts, our methods, our approaches, our mentality is different, completely different. No meeting point with these people who have no idea who they are, what they want, what they should even be. A people with no vision about personal growth, about collective growth. A people with no vision about how change is brought about. Those are not the kind of people to be yoked with. Folks, I'm sure a lot of us now understand why it was important for the people of the Southern Cameroons to continue to press on to get the Republic of Cameroon out of our land. You cannot be with this kind of a people and you hope that someday you will develop. You cannot be with a set of people who can never even stand up for themselves The most important thing for them, right now as I'm talking, they are certainly somewhere frustrated and angry that businesses are closed down because they ought to be drinking alcohol. They ought to be drinking beer. They ought to be eating bread and sardine. Oh, some are even frustrated that brothels, what they call auberge, are closed. Because you recall, when places were locked down for over a week after the proclamation of the results of the election, the priority for some people was ouvrir les auberges. That's all they know. Eat, drink, and look, and then do, you know, the brothel business. They themselves describe it as manger, boire, baiser. Nothing short of that. It is shameful. It is disgusting. I now see some people who initially sat and insulted us, the pro-independence activists for the southern Cameroons, and said we're taking them on a rough ride. But today, a good lot of them are seeing for themselves that this is a necessary fight, that this is an important fight. Let me make this clear. If Sisiko Julius Ayuktabe and all the members of his cabinet that were kidnapped in Abuja, at Nere Hotel in Abuja, Nigeria, were not killed, if they have not been killed right up to this point, it is because of the activities of those people that Tanganji calls voices in the bushes. If these voices had relented, I'm calling it the way he called, if they had relented, these people would all have been killed by now. And I want again to return to this, because sometimes I've had insults, attacks, and all those people say, oh, Mr. Mbakuro, you lied when he said that Ayuktabe and others had been killed and thrown into the ocean. It's because this is the same method they wanted to use on them. This is what they wanted to do on them. This is what Atanga Ponji had suggested they do on them. And that information leaked to us. If we do not go on rooftops and scream that they had been killed and dumped in the sea, the government of Cameroon will never have produced them. They would have waited for some time and come and send out this kind of useless press release like the one that Atonfak has sent out, saying, oh, we are investigating the circumstances. Exactly what they did to Samuel Wazizi. When you face a murderous system like this one, you don't take chances. The people of the Republic of Cameroon are seeing for themselves today. Yesterday, they called us terrorists while we were rising for our rights, while we were standing up for what we believe in, while we were standing up to tell the BIA system we have had enough of this dehumanization, enough of this torture, enough of the stifling of a people who were only begging to have the opportunity to better their lives. When we stood up to say we had had enough, they were calling us terrorists. They were gleeful when their soldiers were killing us. Gleeful when their soldiers were burning down our villages. Oh yes, they burned down over 400 village settlements. Gleeful when their soldiers were roasting our vulnerable people alive in their homes. Gleeful when their soldiers, when their evil soldiers, when their terrorist soldiers were exacting collective punishment on our people, burning homes, even right at Aziri-Oche Junction in Bamenda. They were gleeful. They were excited. They described their army as patriotic. They described their criminal army as Republican, as professional. But today, I can see that it is dawning on them what we always said, that everyone will have their turn at the barbers. It is sad what has happened to Anicet Ekane. It is sad. Yes. So sad. I can only extend heartfelt condolences to his family, to those who worked with and believed in him. For us, the people of the southern Cameroons, we have traced our path. We are following our trajectory. We will get La République du Cameroon out of our land, by hook or by crook. One recommendation I'll make to the BIA system before I go on this broadcast: don't organize elections anymore. Just go ahead. sign a decree and say, with effect of the date of the signature of this decree, I am president for life. Take a second decree and say, with effect of the date of the signature of this decree, Cameroon is a monarchy and I am the first monarch. And after me, my son, Frank Bia, will take over. And the lineage will continue. And so shall it be. And the people of the Republic of Cameroon will clap. They will cheer. They will go and sit in the bars and say, on va faire comment. And that will avoid situations where every now and then they organize useless elections whose results are known beforehand, kill people, massacre others, detain people for no good reason, and frustrate the people. I recall Josh Aane, former journalist of CRTV, on a Cameroon calling segment, once said they should even raise the presidential mandate to 50 years renewable once. So you are sure that since you are certain you live for at least 100 years, you are sure that by the time you're dying, you are still in power as president. And avoid this kind of situations. I guess it is still a good piece of advice. Thank you very much for your kind attention. If you are not yet subscribed to this platform, please go right ahead and subscribe. If you're already subscribed, make sure you share the link and share the link as much as possible so we reach as many people as possible. Folks, let's keep the conversation going. To God be the glory.